What's up guys, Tactics here with another video for you. The RPG genre has a few different subgenres for people in case some games just don't meet their standards. Some people enjoy a more free-form and fast-paced style of gameplay where players can move freely around an area and attack enemies without little to no restrictions, such as something like an action RPG. And then there's also the more slower pace where you can take your time and plan out strategies mid-battle like a turn-based RPG. Well, strategy RPGs could fall into that category as well a bit, but with more emphasis on positioning of characters and movement. Today I'm going to give you guys 10 of some of the best SRPG games on the market. Most of these have recent installments and are the latest in the series, while some have been around for quite some time now. And if your favorite game doesn't appear on this list, let me know what is your favorite game in this subcategory of RPGs. Now then, let's kick things off with number 10. Okay, let's go ahead and get this one out of the way first, and you'll understand why in just a moment, being Sword of Convallaria. This game is a tactical turn-based RPG developed by XD International. You will be collecting and training a roster of mercenaries and utilizing your strategies to save the nation of Iria after waking up in a jail cell knowing very little about the state of the world or even yourself. After being rescued by a group of mercs, you will become a mercenary yourself. The story seems to be very similar in a way to Final Fantasy Tactics, but with probably more politics involved. But what about the big elephant in the room? Being that this game has a gacha system, since it is technically a mobile game first, and getting all the top tier characters can be pretty expensive. However, these characters are not necessarily needed in order to complete most missions. And of course, there is an energy system that takes a little over 6 hours to fully restore. Overall, the graphics with the pixel art looks pretty good, and if you can look past the whole gacha mechanic thing, this can be a very good game to pick up and try for yourself. Now this next game should look pretty familiar to a lot of people. Fire Emblem Engage is the latest installment to the series. In fact, I chose it because it's the latest installment. The story revolves around our main protag, Alir, who is a divine dragon who awakens from a 1,000-year nap and quickly gets entangled in a conflict with the forces of the failed dragon Sombron. Alir travels to different kingdoms to gather allies to combat the kingdom of Elusia and Sombron's undead forces. Pretty standard story, but the gameplay is where it's at. Using magic rings that contain phantom versions of past Fire Emblem protags or even important characters like Soren, you can combine your powers for more stat boost and engage with them to transform into a super version of that character to pull off some pretty devastating attacks. Funny enough, this game also has a kind of gacha system where you can use pretty much the in-game currency to pull for more magic rings to enhance character stats and even give them special abilities depending on the rarity of the ring. Honestly, I really love this game. In fact, Fire Emblem is my favorite tactical RPG series since it is what pretty much got me into strategy RPGs. It really would take a lot for me to hate on any of these games, even if the story seems pretty mediocre or the character designs are a little over the top. There really is only one game I can say in this series that would really test my patience, but let's not get into that today. Instead, let's move on to number 8. Now going into this next one, I was not too aware of this game, but the story caught me by surprise. Arcadian Atlas is a strategy RPG focused mostly around its characters and the story. It is a tale of a journey in the life of two lovers brought together by war and torn between the queen they've sworn fealty to and the charismatic illegitimate daughter who's risen up to take back a throne denied her. Civil war continues to threaten to engulf the land with utter despair as battle lines are drawn and swords unsheathed. Now, I haven't played this game yet, so I don't really have much I can really say about it, but there is 12 unique classes in the game and a slew of maps with their own special unique design and terrain. So I think this is definitely a game you might want to check out, but let me know what you guys think about Arcadian Atlas. Coming in at number 7, we've got Tactics Ogre Reborn. Now this is another game that I hear that got a lot of people into strategy RPGs, mainly because of the mechanics and how much the game just draws you in. This remake has improved many of the features like the graphics, the sound quality, and of course the better gameplay design as a whole. It has a lot of classes for customizing your characters to suit how you want them to fit into your teams. It also has a world map where you're able to engage in random encounters. Since I got into the jrpg genre through Fire Emblem, I never really got around to playing any of these games, but there is always a chance to get into the Ogre games since this is their most recent installment, and hopefully there will be more to come. Speaking of tactics games, this next game that I've got for you is exactly why I love jrpgs with Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Unlike the Ogre games, I have played this game before, and I vividly remember playing Advance like crazy. This game is basically isekai before the term isekai became mainstream. The main character is a young boy named Marsh who gets transported to a fantasy world of Evilise where he meets the Moogle Montblanc. He establishes a clan in order to find his way back to his world alongside Montblanc. Along the way, he runs into familiar faces from his world who have become accustomed to their new life in the fantasy world, coupled with a lot of classes and skills that you can change as you progress through the game, and you're going to have a fun time playing through this old classic. And if you guys are enjoying anything in this video so far, I would really appreciate it if you could smash that like button for me and maybe even subscribe for more content like this. It really does help me out a lot. Thanks guys. Now then, back to the video. Now this next game has got to be hands down one of my favorite games I've played this year, being Unicorn Overlord. This game takes place on the continent of Fevrith, where the main protag Elaine must venture across the lands and liberate the different nations from the evil clutches of Zenoira. Now that was a watered down summary of the story, but there is so much more to it than that. There are many colorful characters that you can encounter and recruit that can spark another kind of war of its own. Something that many like to call the waifu wars, and I will be at the front lines ready to defend those thighs anytime. But jokes aside, the gameplay is phenomenal, with it being a real-time strategy game with beautiful art design of location and character designs. I can go on and on about this game, but if you want to hear me go a little more in depth about the game, you can check it out in this video at the top right of the screen if you haven't already. But yes, if you haven't played this game, I highly recommend anyone who's looking for a thrilling experience and of course, top-notch gameplay. Riding off the back of Unicorn Overlord, we have Symphony of War, Nephilim Saga at number 4. This game is basically if Fire Emblem and Unicorn Overlord had a baby, since it has that more familiar look to it, where you're moving not just a single unit next to an enemy unit to attack, but an entire squad. At that point, the battle plays out like you would see from a Fire Emblem game or even Unicorn Overlord. With a vast array of customization for your army of warriors and generals like this, oh my god! Oh yeah. It's love at first sight all over again, baby. Anyways, and if you don't take my word for it, since it seems to be pretty successful with over 3,000 reviews on Steam, and with a 96% positive review ratio, I mean, why not? So if you play a lot of games on Steam, I highly recommend checking this one out for yourself because, well, I know I will. Coming in at number 3, we've got Phantom Brave, The Lost Hero. Now this is an interesting one to take note of since the game was revealed at the recent Nintendo Direct, meaning that it hasn't come out yet. Evoire, a world that is covered almost entirely with water and dotted with islands of various sizes. In this world, humans, beast people, magic beings, and all kinds of life coexist. Morana is a girl who can see phantoms and works alongside her phantom partner Ash as a chroma, a type of contractor who travels to various islands and solve people's problems upon request. As Morana and Ash are returning home from a chroma job, as usual, disaster strikes. Their ship is attacked by a group of vicious ghost ships known as the Shipwreck Fleet. A mysterious masked man steals Morana's powers, and to save her, Ash jumps into the horde of enemies alone. Thus, Morana and Ash gets separated. To travel this region of the sea, which is filled with pirate territories, she must become a pirate herself and expand their own territory. Morana, alongside another girl named Apricot, decide to work together to revitalize the Argento pirate crew in order to reunite with those who are dear to them. So yeah, this game sounds pretty interesting enough with some neat gameplay mechanics to it, and I've only just scratched the surface of it. There is no guaranteed date for it yet though, since we won't see it until next year. but definitely worth keeping an eye out in the coming months. At number 2, we've got Record of the Agarish War 2. Out of all the Record games, this is probably my favorite. I've talked about this series a few times on the channel before, so that just shows how much I enjoy games like these that put a bit of a spin on the RPG genre. The story of 2 follows Wes, who slew a divine entity and must now atone for his sins by becoming a vessel to resurrect the one whose life was stolen. So just like all the games in the series before it takes place over multiple generations. Now I know that 2 changes a lot of things around compared to the other games in the series, but none of it really bothered me that much. And since I played every game in the series, I thought the change was actually much needed. I didn't mind the old mechanics, plus I did have some concerns with a few things they did change with 2, but overall I still would recommend giving this game a try if you're into some romance and of course a little bit of fan service. And last but certainly not least, we have Triangle Strategy. Released in March for the Switch back in 2022, this game was pretty well received. I don't find that to be too shocking either, since it was made by Square Enix, who also gave us Octopath Traveler. So you'll see a lot of similarities in art style and character design. The story is pretty deep, spanning multiple endings and outcomes to choose from across your entire playthrough. It focuses on conflict between the ideologies of utility, morality, and liberty, with intricate map designs allowing the player to take advantage of traversing height levels for more damage on enemies down below. That's right, who has the high ground now, son? Also boasting limited upgrade resources, making sure you pick the most optimal characters for many of the maps and enemy types in the game. Like I said, the story is pretty deep, and depending on your choices, the game will shape how your allies perceive you, which can lead to some gut-wrenching moments. I truly enjoyed my time playing through the game and can't stress enough how much you should play this game, if you haven't already of course. Not to mention that if you don't have a Switch, you can still play it on PC as well. Either way, this is an incredible game. Alright guys, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe there was something on this list that resonated with you. If so, don't forget to hit that like button for me and subscribe for more content like this if you're feeling even more generous. Let me know what your favorite game was on the list and why. And with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.